Mm-mm. Creepy kitty. Who likes that? Tom does. Right? The director Tom loves the fucking cats. Why? I don't know. It's just strange, man. It's fucking creepy. So, let's go over one kind of more decision here real fast. And I want to make sure we can all pull this off. So every now and again, you'll get one decision that'll kind of stick out like a sore thumb. It'll basically say, hey, we are company X, and we can make a few different products. Okay? We can make products A, B, and C, or just A and B, or whatever. And so we have all this information concerning the two products. You know, it'll take about 10 minutes to make this one, but it takes like 12 minutes to make that one. And, you know, this one has this price, this one has that price, so on and so forth. So the real, like, watered down version of this is that, excuse me, all that really matters at the end of the day is contribution margin. Okay? With no other information, whichever of these two has the higher contribution margin is the better one. Now, of course, you know, there is going to, for the most part, be other information, right? They'll say, well, this one takes 12 minutes. Well, if that one only takes 12 minutes, this one takes an hour, we ought to consider that as well. So we incorporate what's called a constraint. A certain contribution margin per constraint may also have to be sort of brought into the foray of information, all right? So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of teach and instruct this, okay, by virtue of kind of just one really good example. Then, of course, there's one problem thereafter. That's one of the ones you're going to try on your own, okay? So quick rule, optimal use, excuse me, of limited resources. That's what this is called, an optimal use of limited resources. In other words, we can only make product A or B. We got to kind of figure out which one to make. Well, like I said, the product with the higher contribution margin is typically better, but usually we bring in the idea of a constraint, and that'll sort of factor in as well. So let me show you a problem as to how this works. Okay, Mr. Plow must choose which product he will make this year, product A or product B. Product A sells for $200 per unit and has a variable cost of $100 per unit. Product B sells for $1.50 and it has a variable cost of $80. Pause for a second here and let me point this out. The fact that this one has a higher price on its own doesn't matter. Don't fucking think of it that way. Don't be an idiot, right? You guys are going to college. You're smart people. Stupid people think of it that way. You guys are not stupid. You're very smart. You can do this, okay? So we think about it from the perspective of what? Contribution margin. Now, it goes on to say it takes 1/3 of an hour to make a unit of product A, 1/6 of an hour to make a unit of product B, and the maximum number of production hours available is 10,000. So, given that information, how many units of each product should be made in order to maximize net operating income? All right? Well, let's take a look. Okay, we have this work down here that we're going to do. All right? We have, give me 1 second here to put this on some other paper. There we go. Okay? For product A, we get its contribution margin. Right, guys? Product A's contribution margin is its selling price minus its variable cost. So selling price of $200 minus its variable cost of $100 is, lo and behold, $100. All right? Now, let's skip down to product B real fast. Ignore that for just 1 second. Okay? Product B has its contribution margin of $1.50 minus 80, which gives you $70. Now let's go over all the different sort of, because I'm doing the most, one of the more involved questions, and in doing one of the more involved questions, I'm actually sort of cutting through the other less involved questions. Look, think about it, guys. Does it make sense to you all, right, that with no other information, if I can only make one of product A or one of product B, I'd rather make product A because it has a higher contribution margin. Now, if I can make 10 of these and 1,000 of those, I'd rather make 1,000 of those because those at least will sum total wise have a higher contribution margin, right? However, if we keep this thing going, right, what else do we know? Well, we have a constraint to consider, guys, and by and large on the exam, the constraint will be some sort of time, okay? So it says here, it takes 1/3 of an hour to make a unit of product A, guys. What is 1/3 of 60 minutes, 1/3 of an hour? That's 20 minutes. That's a rude way to say it, but we got it, right? 20 minutes to make A, and 1/6 of an hour, guys. What is 1/6 of an hour, which is 60 minutes, right? Oh, that gives you what? 10 minutes. Okay? So, right? I'm going to double check something real fast. Okay, that's fine. Right. No. Okay. So, now we have to incorporate that idea. Right? Now we have to consider the contribution margin per constraint. See, again, with no other information, we knew that A is better, but there is other information. So we got to kind of take these things and water them down now. What is the contribution margin per constraint for A? Well, let's see. The $100 of contribution margin divided by the constraint of 20 minutes gives you what? Does it give you? It gives you 5, of course. That gives you $5 per minute is what A is going to give you. Okay? Product A is going to give you $5 per minute of contribution margin. All right? Product B, on the other hand, is going to give you what? Well, let's see. It's going to give you $70 divided by 10 minutes, which actually gives you what? $7 per minute. All right? So to that end then, actually, now there's new information. You go, oh, okay, cool. So implicitly, A seemed better. But now that we incorporate time, actually, B is better. And this is the part that gets everybody really confused. They always ask and say, hey, listen, so which one are we going to make, A or B? Of course, the answer now is B. And now, how many of B are you going to make? The answer is as many as you can. Right? If you can only make 10, then fucking make 10. If you can make 20, make 20. And if there's a limited amount, right, they only want 30, okay, make 30, and then, of course, move on to A. Right, guys? So I want to make sure we understand that idea that you want to make as many as you can. If there's a natural ceiling, go to that ceiling, and then move on to the next product, right? If there's 3 products, get the best one, figure out which one it is, make as many of those as you can, move on to the second, make as many of those as you can, move on to the third, so on and so forth, okay? So coming back here, we'd say, all right, how many now of B are we going to make? Well, it tells us, guys, that the maximum number of production hours available is 10,000 hours. Since we only have 10,000 hours, let me kind of get a blank sheet here real fast and just say, okay, it takes 10 minutes per unit of B, right? So does it make sense that we can make 6 per hour? Right? Give it a second to kind of think your way through that. 60 over 10 is 6, right? 60 minutes over 10 minutes per unit is going to be 6, right? So we can make 6 of these every hour, okay? Well, how many hours do we have at our disposal? The question tells us that we have what? 10,000 hours, okay? So if we can make 6 per hour, then we're going to say, okay, let me take the 10,000 hours, multiply it by 6, and we're going to get 60,000 units of B, right? We weren't given a cap on how many of B we can make. So since we're not given any sort of a cap, we just say, okay, we're going to make as many as we can. So the answer is actually going to be A, 60,000 units of, B, 0 units of A and 60,000 units of B, right? Because, and now listen, if you could only make, let's say, 40,000 of these or whatever, you would make 40,000, then move on to A. But it didn't give you any information like that, so we kind of just call it there. All right? So you're going to see a lot more questions going forward, by the way, now, that I kind of see fall in the you should know this category, okay? Try those on your own, all right, guys? By this point, you should be able to knock out fixed and variable costs and things like that. But if not, there's always corresponding videos to solve those things, so I will see you there when applicable. All right, guys? So, as always, take it easy. We'll see you guys soon.